Morning, everyone. I'd like to call the PZA meeting for August 16th to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Featherling?
Here. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Featherling?
Here.
Mr. Miller? Here. Ms. Weber? Mr. Fairfield? Mr. Long? Mr. Swanson? Mr. Eckhoff? Ms. Foster? Ms. Andrade? Mr. Ashcraft? Mr. Scanlon? Ms. Turner? Mr. Wheeler? Mr. Alexander Hildebrand? We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have public comment. We have Tim Howard here to speak. There's a microphone over here, sir, right by our digital clock over there. And I turn it on for you, and you have the floor. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Tim Howard. I'm here representing People's Church in Bourbonnais. The board at our church decided to upgrade our sign, which is now a manual changing sign, and they wanted to go to a digital sign. So we hired Fast Signs in Kankakee to work with us to come up with a plan to do this. After applying for a permit to carry on this process, we were told that the ordinance for Kankakee County, we weren't following that ordinance, and that we had to apply for variances to cover the ordinance in 3 different situations that are involved in that ordinance. One of the things that we found out at the Zoning Board of Appeals hearing Monday night was that Career Center Road is planning or possibility of extending or widening, I should say, to a 3-lane road out there. We've been working on dimension numbers for what we have now, which is a 2-lane road out there. We kind of had things planned to get the sign set back far enough that would accommodate the county's rules and regulations, but with this coming up Monday night, now that has changed. So I had an emergency meeting with the staff and the board at the church last night, and we decided we're going to try to work on taking care of that issue with setback problem and accommodate a 3-lane wide road rather than what we have now. That was one variance that we were looking at, so we're going to try to accommodate that issue. One of the other variances that we applied for was a lighted sign. We want to go with digital. Of course, it's lit, and that's kind of what everybody's doing these days. We're getting rid of manual changing signs and going with lit signs. So we applied for a variance for a lighted sign. The other variance we applied for was the size of that sign. Our present sign now is about 48 square feet. That includes the light box above the sign we have now, which is approximately 24 square feet. The size of the digital sign that we're applying for is now 12 square feet. It's actually 24 square feet total. The entire sign itself would be 48 square feet. The light box on the top is not totally lit. Just the wording People's Church on the sign would be lit. So that sign on top is not really lit the entire 24 square feet. So what I'm here today to ask you all is to consider allowing the variance to be approved for the lighted sign and the size of the sign. And we're going to take care of the setback dimensions as we proceed on with this whole deal.
Okay.
So that's what I had.
Okay.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Dave Barron. Mr. Barron, you here back there? Go over to the mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the board. My name is Dave Barron. I'm an attorney here representing a petitioner that's before you today, Vintage Purse Museum. It is up as case 2309. Here to request a rezoning of property that is known as 3 Diversitech Drive, also previously known as the headquarters for Homestar Bank, and prior to that, the administrative headquarters for Manteno State Hospital. We're seeking a rezoning from the property as it's currently zoned as R2 for dense residential to C2. The primary purpose of this is to allow for my client, Vintage Purse Museum NFP, to open a museum at the location. This museum would be focused on historic purses, telling history through fashion, telling history through the manufacturing of purses. Recently, my client, Kimberly Crothers, who is the founder and the president of the organization, formed a partnership and has had a number of discussions with the Kankakee County Historical Society. They did a shared exhibit at the museum here in Kankakee that focused on a particular history of a woman who got into handbags, manufacturing handbags, because of her husband being at service during World War II. It's an opportunity, it's a way to tell stories about our community, about fashion, about purses, in many different ways. Another element of what my client is seeking to do is hire a number of special needs adults as employees at the location. She's made communications with KCTC at this point about providing those opportunities. So we are coming to you to ask for that rezoning. As you may recall, this property was rezoned 2 years ago to R2. Prior to that, it was zoned I2 as part of the Diversitech campus under the master plan that was enacted in 1993. The residential development that was looked to proceed there did not go forward. So at this point, we're looking to turn it to C2, which is in much more in line with the historic use as a bank headquarters, as a state administrative hospital. So we come before you asking for that change today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You can.
Is there anyone else here that came to speak that didn't get a sheet to fill out? If not, okay, we'll go ahead and move on. Okay, we get approval of minutes. Everyone received the minutes. Anyone have any corrections or deletions or anything? If not, entertain a motion to approve. Ms. Andrade, second. Mr. Fairfield, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Okay, Mr. Skimmerhorn has the building report today. Yes. July 23rd.
In your packet, you should have the building report for July of 2023. As you can see by the report, we had a very busy month that month. Only issued one new house permit, though. A total of 74 permits, and revenue generated was $74,724, which is almost double for that same month of 2022. Out of that 74,000, 2 were solar farms and 1 was a permit for Heritage FS out in St. George. It looks like about $12 million in valuation.
Okay. Anything else though?
No, that's
anybody have any questions? No? I get a motion to approve. Mr. Eckhoff? Mr. Miller's back there hiding behind the chair top. I couldn't see you. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Okay, Dell, we have our stormwater MS4 yes. Program discussion.
As we ask every month, see if the board has any issues with stormwater problems in their areas that they would like to bring forward.
Okay. Haven't had a lot of big rainfalls. Anybody have anything they wanted to bring forward or discuss? No? Okay. We'll just go ahead and move on with that, right, Kelly? Okay. Okay, planning. We have a Kankakee County multi-jurisdictional national hazard mitigation plan, and that's Mr. Skimmerhorn again. He's got a PowerPoint for that, right?
Yes,
actually. Have a guest speaker?
I do. Our consultant, Andrea Boswick with American Environmental, will be giving a short presentation. After several months, we've actually finalized the plan. It's about 500 and some odd pages. We received a letter from FEMA and IEMA that it was approved by them, pending approval by the county and the jurisdictions. So once the county board approves the plan and the municipal jurisdictions, well, it'll be approved at that point, and then the municipal jurisdictions can approve it too. They must approve it if they want to do any of the projects that they have in the plan. And I'll turn it over to Andrea, who can explain it far better than I can.
Okay, good morning. Andrea?
Good morning.
Andrea, you have the floor.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint. All right, so good morning. My name is Andrea. We were the consultant that the county used to help update their hazard mitigation plan. I'm here to give you a bit of a background on that update and then to talk just a tiny bit about the adoption process. So if you'll remember, hazard mitigation plans. The hazard mitigation plan details the natural hazards that have previously impacted the county, and it also identifies those projects and activities that the jurisdictions have identified to reduce the risk to people and property from those hazards before an event occurs. So why did the county update its plan? Well, the biggest reason was to become eligible for federal mitigation assistance funds to implement the projects and the activities that are identified in the plan. So in order to access certain types of non-emergency disaster assistance, jurisdictions must be a part of a current FEMA-approved hazard mitigation plan. So what was included in the plan? Well, the task force went through and chose to include the following hazards in the plan. We've got severe summer storms, and that includes thunderstorms with damaging winds, so straight line winds, hail, lightning. We did flood, both flash flood and riverine flood. We looked at severe winter storms, excessive heat, extreme cold, tornadoes, droughts, wildfires, dam failures, and earthquakes. So the plan itself includes sections on jurisdictional demographics and capabilities, the planning process itself, the risk assessment of those natural hazards, a mitigation strategy, which includes jurisdiction-specific mitigation action lists, and then a section on plan maintenance and adoption. So a majority of the plan update is devoted to that risk assessment and mitigation strategy. So the risk assessment identifies the natural hazards that pose a threat to the county, and it identifies and profiles each of those hazards and their past occurrences, reported damages, likelihoods of future occurrences, and then there's a vulnerability analysis that estimates potential impacts. The heart of the plan is that mitigation strategy, and it includes a list of projects and activities that were identified for each of the participating jurisdictions to reduce the loss of life and property damage as a result of those natural hazards that were identified in the risk assessment. So the planning process itself, the plan was updated and developed through the Kankakee Regional Planning Commission and then the Kankakee County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazard Mitigation Advisory Task Force. That's a mouthful. The task force included representatives from each of the participating jurisdictions, as well as agricultural, education, emergency services, healthcare, regional planning, and then social services. All of the municipalities, townships, fire protection districts within the county were invited to participate, as well as the Regional Office of Education. So there were a lot of people that helped us put this plan together. So the task force met 5 times between May of 2022 and May of 2023 to provide input on that plan update. So a total of 16 jurisdictions are specifically identified in the plan update. These are the jurisdictions who sought plan approval, and they include the county as well as all of these. We've got Aroma Park, Ascension St. Mary, Bourbonnais Fire Protection, Bourbonnais Township, Bradley, Grant Park, Hopkins Park, Kankakee the city, the county, Kankakee Community College, Manteno Fire Protection District, Momence Fire Protection District, Riverside Medical, and Union Health. So one of the things we did was, after this year-long process, we held a public forum on May 31st, which presented the plan update to the public for review and comment. So the plan was posted on the county's website, and a hard copy was made available at the planning department's office. There was a 2-week public comment period following that public forum for those who were unable to attend. After that 2-week comment period, we went ahead, finalized the plan, and then we submitted it to IEMA and FEMA on June 16th. So like Delbert said, FEMA provided conditional approval of the plan update on August 4th. So this is really fast for them, and it's a great thing. So what happens next? So in order to receive final approval of the plan update and become eligible to apply for those mitigation project funds, each of the participating jurisdictions, including the county, must formally adopt the plan by resolution. So that's why Delbert brought the plan before you this morning. We've provided each of the participating jurisdictions with a draft adoption resolution, which is modeled after the sample that FEMA provides in their local mitigation planning policy guide. So what happens is, once we get all of those resolutions, what we'll do is we'll submit those to IEMA and FEMA, and we will get the final approval letter. That final approval letter starts the clock on the next plan update. So by law, the plan has to be reviewed, revised, and resubmitted to IEMA and FEMA at least once every 5 years for the jurisdictions to remain eligible to apply for mitigation project funds. So, does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Wheeler, 13.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was talking with
The mic.
Mr. Fairfield about this because of his former endeavors at the sheriff's department and my current role. Is nuclear addressed in here?
I don't believe so.
No.
No, this
Why-
plan was only for natural hazards.
Just natural.
Natural.
Yes.
I see, because that's all. We do train for that. We do test that and prepare. I just didn't know if there was a dotted line to anything in here.
I believe it's considered act of God, these things.
Oh, these are natural hazards, yes, not
Mother
not anything man-made or, yeah. So it's not all disasters,
Okay.
just natural hazards. And, Andrea had like 12 of them, I think, on that list. Those are the ones that were looked at.
Okay.
Flooding, tornadoes, that sort of thing.
Okay. Ms. Weber, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I read through the pages and looked over the pages, I was really impressed that there are 23 pages of references. And that says to me a really in-depth study if you have that many references and a material from that many people and that many organizations. So it's really a great in-depth study and really should help a lot of people in the future. So
It's a lot of
appreciate it.
work. You have to have an outline in place for things. Anyone else? No? We got a motion to approve this, huh? Do you have a
Right.
resolution in front of us that we?
No, that'll be,
I don't have to read that here.
that'll be at county board. You'll get the resolution.
So, we need a motion to approve that for Dell, and everybody's looked through it, and we've talked about it several times, so. Ms. Weber, did you want to make the
I'd
motion?
like to move that we accept the
Okay,
plan.
we get a
Thank you.
second? Okay, Rose, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. No, opposed, thank you. Okay, Andrea, I think we're all set. Is that it, Del?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Thanks for zooming in.
No problem. Bye.
Okay, next up, we have a zoning case here. ZBA case 22-15 is a request for a rezone from A1 Agriculture District to C2 General Commercial District, or Commercial, Special Use Permit Number 3, Fairground Racetrack of all kinds in the C2 Commercial District, and a variance to Section 121-183B3 in setbacks on a parcel generally situated in Section 03 of Gainier Township, petitioners NPF Racing Stables LLC owner and applicant. Okay. So we do this motion, no motion, let's do discussion. Okay. We do a motion in a second and discussion, Andy, or you want to do that? Should we do
Yeah, the
this?
motion that I'm gonna make is to, I recommend that we send this back to ZBA.
Yeah,
After talking with Dell and speaking with the applicant before the meeting, and I know you did as well, the issue that we have here is not the use, I would say, it's the rezoning into commercial. What we do then, if we change the rezoning, we just permitted all uses for commercial uses in this rural area. And so, in talking with Dell, and he can obviously chime in, but it seems like it's a better situation to allow this as a special use within the ag district, so it doesn't change the actual zoning, and Dell could explain that. So
yeah, sure.
if there is a second, then we could go into that type of discussion.
Okay. Mr. Eckhoff makes the second. Okay, now we
And
have
by the way, it
discussion.
would also be to bring it back once we amend the code to allow that as a
Yeah.
use. So they will both come back here together.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Dill?
So what's gonna happen here is that this is gonna be, with the motion, sent back to the zoning board, and it's gonna hold there until we can examine our ordinance and make the appropriate change to our ordinance. Then they will modify their application accordingly, and then we'll move it back forward with a new public hearing.
Okay.
Okay.
Then we eliminate that
Yeah,
spot zoning
at
issue
the-
that you can have there
Right,
too.
we eliminate spot zoning. We also don't force the applicant to spend all the money to reapply. They're amending their original application.
So they just change it, have another meeting, be set.
Pretty much.
Based
Okay.
on the previous public hearing, the vote for the special use permit and the variance was unanimous to approve, telling me that the zoning board had no problem with an actual racetrack being there. However, the vote for the rezoning was 3-2, and they have an issue not with the racetrack, but with having C2 commercial in that location. Because once that's granted, any of the 70 uses in the C2 commercial zone could be there, but put there by right, without having to come back before this board. So
Pick it in.
we will be looking at we will keep the racetracks in the C2 district as well, but also copying that language to the A1 district as a special use there.
So we're giving them some time. Won't be back for next month because you have to have a zoning board meeting, so it'll be a couple months it'll come back. So
It will be a couple of months. We have to have a public hearing for the ordinance change.
okay,
So that's gonna be at least probably 40 days to get that done.
okay,
And then they'll have to reapply, or not reapply, but we'll go forward with a new hearing for their application, which will probably be at least another 40 months on top of that. So we're looking at about, or 40 days, excuse me, so 80 or 90 days before
Okay.
you see it again.
Is it doing business now?
No,
No.
no.
So it'd be shut down for that extended period then?
Yeah, their season's over anyway.
Okay.
So,
I didn't know for sure.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Wheeler.
thank
Go
you. More accurately, their season has not started.
Yeah.
Because they have been holding to their word of not holding events until they got their business right
Good
with
job.
us.
Okay,
And so I was just asked if they could allow, if we could allow an event, and I will run that through Dell if they have got the building code stuff and fire stuff all done. It's easy for us to allow an event so they could kind of tread water for this year,
yeah,
not lose their hat, so to speak, and we'll talk about that if that's able to do something on a limited basis for this year.
okay.
sorry.
I don't know if we're to that point yet, because obviously there were some construction issues and, buildings and things like that. I think they've been addressed, but
No, we can discuss that.
we'll discuss that
Okay.
offline.
Okay.
It's a different process, but I didn't want you to think that was the answer.
Okay,
Yeah, I misspoke. I guess I meant to say if they would have had a season, the season would have been over by now.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like they didn't have a season, they were shut down or something, so. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We get it all in favor to send this back to the zoning board of appeals, and we'll see it again in a month or two. We got all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. No opposed, okay, thank you. Okay, next up, we have ZBA case 23-05 is a request for a variance to sections 121-285, fence height and type on a parcel generally situated in section 24 of Limestone Township. Petitioners are Steve and Julie Bell, property owners and applicants.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Skimmerhorn, what are you gonna give us a rundown on how that went?
I certainly can. This property is located at 1926A West Illinois Route 113. It's owned by Steve and Julie Bell. It's outlined in red on the map up there, and you might want to look at that to follow along. Back, I think it was around March or April, our code enforcement officer found the owners building a privacy fence on this property without a permit. The fence, if you see the driveway to the eastern side to the right, the fence goes along there, and there's a driveway to the western side. It roughly goes along that area there as well, and they were intending to put it back along Route 113 when we stopped them. Our ordinance does not allow for a privacy fence in the front yard, which is in front of this house. In front of a home, you're allowed a 4-foot tall fence that's open at least 60%. The privacy fence that they put up is a solid fence and 6 foot in height. If you go to the next slide, please, Kelly, kind of explains it there. So, to meet the requirements of the ordinance, the blue area would be where a 4-foot open fence would be allowed, and the red area is where a privacy, 6-foot privacy solid fence would be allowed. At the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, which was held on the 7th, the zoning board voted 3-2 on approval, and the zoning board must have 4 concurring votes to make a recommendation. So this comes before you without a recommendation. The 2 nay votes commented that their reason for voting no is that they could not see the hardship and that the property owners had plenty of options, other options, to still have a fenced-in yard for privacy without violating the ordinance. So this comes before you without recommendation.
Mr. Wheeler?
For clarity, they're proposing the 8-foot fence
6 foot,
or 6 foot in the front.
where the blue, where the
is.
red and the blue is really.
Right,
yes.
right. But it's permitted at a 4-foot, I want to say chain link, but something you could see through.
Yeah, 60% open, so,
Every other
chain
board-
link,
every other
picket
board,
fence,
something like
could be a, what they call the split rail fence.
Yeah.
It has to be at least 60% open. So that is, that's where it's at. The reasoning stated in the application for this is a rental property for them. The reason stated in the application is the renters had large dogs that they needed to keep in a fence. That was not brought up though at the hearing. At the hearing, it was stated by the applicants that they needed the area for children that the renters may have and to keep trash off the property that blows in from Route 113.
Okay, does anyone have any questions on the board here? 113 can be busy sometimes, you know, that's, but what is our opinion on big, tall, opaque fences that you can't see through, right up against the road in the front yard? Okay, Ms. Weber?
The question is, would we allow the fence to be taller in the blue area? Is that the question?
That's what they're asking for, yes.
And a no vote would mean no, we wouldn't agree to that.
If the motion, was the motion made to approve?
No.
No, if a motion was
Discussion first, sorry.
made to approve, then a no vote would mean no, we do not want that fence in that location.
And since the other board did not make a decision, is this board able to make an adjustment to that, or it would have to be?
Yes, there was no decision.
So this board.
So actually, in this instance, the Planning and Zoning Committee should also include either the acceptance of findings of fact or creating their own findings of fact
so it's
on this. because
possible to create findings of
There
facts
are,
here.
there's findings of fact in your report,
Mhm,
but the zoning board was unable to recommend those.
mhm.
Mr. Eckhoff, you had something?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on page 5, you can see in one of the pictures the fence goes up to the chain link fence in the front. So they would have to go ahead and take down one of those panels there, if not 2 panels, correct?
Actually, everything, if you look on, yes, the lower right picture on the report on 5, all of that fence would have to come down.
Okay.
You see the front wall of the house back there?
Yeah.
No privacy fence by our ordinance can be in front of that front wall of that house.
And that's
So-
what it is in most municipalities as well. So
Yeah.
Yes, that's very common.
Yep.
You have to be able to see through it too.
And if you look at the other
Yeah.
side,
Split rail
if
usually.
you look at the other side of the yard, some of that fence would have to come down as well.
Okay. And then we obviously don't know if they went ahead and went 30 feet or 30 inches down in the ground to go ahead and do
There was no
concrete.
permit, so we have no
So-
idea.
You don't know if it's structurally sound either.
We do not.
So
We do
Yeah.
not.
I know where I'm
No
at.
inspections.
And they
on
would
it.
have eventually connected those 2 fences across the front when we stopped them.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I would caution the board of what kind of precedents you may be setting, so.
There's a lot of situations in the county where this takes place.
I'll
I've
make
seen a
note.
lot of them over
If
the
you would
years
want-
on the zoning board.
If you would want these type of fences all the way up and down Route 113 or any of our other corridors, you may be saying that that's acceptable.
Yeah.
If they would have got a permit when they did it originally, they would have been
It
told
would've
by
been
where,
stopped.
where they could put it, what they could put. It's clearly written in our ordinance what it says for front yards in our ordinance. so-
There's a photo on page 6 that shows the other side of the fence on the western side.
Okay.
A little better.
Mr. Eckhoff, you got a
I'd like to
motion?
make the motion to not allow this.
Not allow us? Okay, we get a second? Okay. Rose, second. All in favor, say for denial? Oh, yeah, we should review, send back something.
I think you should
Yeah.
review findings of fact and find that you need to find at least one of them.
That you don't like.
that you don't
That-
think, but
If you have anything
Which-
wrong with any of them,
if you
Even
agree,
one-
I'm sorry.
sorry. If you,
Oh, sorry.
sorry.
Either way, okay. If you agree with the no votes at zoning board, their finding was that there was not a hardship because there's other options they can do to meet the law. So if you could add that to your motion or something along those lines, if you'd like.
You want?
Yeah.
You want to add?
So number 1 for hardship. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Anyone else have any that they disagree with, Mr. Wheeler?
I would just on the record, that's what I disagree with. There is no true hardship.
Yeah.
The current zoning is satisfactory for the stated purposes of the use.
Yeah.
And, so.
The hardship was created on their own.
Exactly.
So-
Yeah, and it's, why I understand what they're wanting to do. It's not, we'd have a real problem if we went this route.
Okay. Motion, Ms. Weber?
Just wonder what recourse do the homeowners have here?
Well, this has to go to county board, so it's not denied until the full county board denies it. But if it's denied, they will have to remove that fence back to the front wall of the house.
And then, they
And
could,
of course, get a permit for it.
and then get a permit and put the appropriate fence in the blue area and the appropriate fence in the,
Correct, if that's what they choose to
if
do.
they wish to do that.
Okay.
So they have a recourse, they have something they could do.
Yes. Okay. We have a motion and a second. We have our finding everyone agrees we don't agree with. Okay. We got a first and a second, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, none. Thank you. Okay, Dell.
All right, next up.
Next up, we have ZBA case 23-09. It's a request for rezoning from R2 High Density Residential District to C2 General Commercial District on a parcel generally situated in section 26 of Manteno Township.
Yeah.
Petitioners are Midland State Bank, property owners, and Vintage Purse Museum NPF applicant. Okay, Mr. Skimmer, what do we have here?
Okay, Mr. Barron gave a fairly good overview during his public comment period, but I can recap some of that. This is the old administration building of the Diversitech campus. It was there when this was a mental hospital. It became part of the I-2 industrial PUD starting in about 1984, finalized about 1993. About a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, it was this particular property itself. There was a plan to do high-density residential apartments in this building. It was rezoned to R2 high-density residential for that purpose. That project fell through, and the new owners, and I don't remember if they actually own it yet or not. At the public hearing, I think they were in the process of doing that, so I don't know if that was ever finalized 100%, but would like to open up a museum at this location for vintage purses. They would also like to have an art studio for artwork and a small event room that people could rent for birthday parties and things of that nature. So sitting with them and talking, C2 General Commercial would fit all of those uses. The building is built to a commercial standard, so it fits that as well. So we went to the Zoning Board of Appeals with this case, and they voted 5-0 to approve the rezoning to C2 Commercial.
Okay, Ms. Weber.
I move that we accept the request.
Okay. Any discussion on it at all? Motion is second, Mr. Eckhoff's the second. So, is there any discussion on this at all? Anyone have any? It came in here about a year ago, and it was gonna be 20-some townhouses or condos or something. Didn't go over real big in the neighborhood, but because of traffic and parking and stuff, but I don't know. I think this kind of fits the situation there. Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah, just as a on the record, I'm not necessarily receptive if this comes back to change it back to something else that's considered the highest and best use. So this is it for me. I'll vote to put this back to the way it was basically when it started, even though it was I-2, the use was a commercial use. So I would just say that the lane is being picked for this property, so to speak, and that's the one I'm going to support.
Yeah, I should have noted that this building has been used for a commercial or office purpose its entire life.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see somebody else come in and say, okay, well now we're going to change it back to residential, because that's just the highest and best use is being determined in my mind right now.
Yes.
So
this is great for the area and good for traffic and things like that too. So, Okay, we have first in the south. Ms. Weber, go ahead.
I just wanted to compliment the proposed persons because of the employment they wish to use, as well as the use they want to make of it, and the hope for 75 people a day to come.
Yeah, and it seems like a really nice design building for something like a museum or things like that. So, and there's close parking around it for people that want to get in and park close too. So, we have motion and a second. I get all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, none. Okay. Thank you. Next up, ZBA case 23-10 is a request for a variance to section 121-396 .4 digital sign, 121-396A size, and 121-396.4 setback on a parcel generally situated in section 36 of Rockville Township. Petitioners are People's Church property.
Mile, maybe almost a half a mile north of 6,000 North Road. They have an existing sign out front, and I probably should have put a picture up there, but if you look in your report, there is a photo of the existing sign on page 3. This existing sign, we cannot find a permit on it. They testified that it was put up probably about 2 years after the church. So I don't know that our office ever permitted that existing sign. But for a church sign, the minimum requirements is 16 square feet. The new sign will be 48 square feet, which is just a little bit smaller than this sign. Basically, they're taking that triangle off the top of it. Also must be set back 15 feet from the right-of-way line. It's been determined that this sign is about 7 or 8 feet from the right-of-way line currently. And our ordinance also does not allow for lighted or flashing signs, which would be the digital sign, for churches. So they're asking for 3 variances here. 1 to turn the sign to a digital sign. 1 to increase the size from 16 square feet to the 48 square feet. And 3 to allow that lesser setback. The Zoning Board of Appeals was unable to make a recommendation because it was voted 3-1 on all 3 of these variances, and the zoning board rules require 4 concurring votes to make a recommendation. So this case also comes before you without a recommendation. I can say the nay vote had concerns about the setback and had no issues with it being a digital sign or the size of the sign. In fact, one of them commented that we should look at our ordinance to allow larger signs so we don't have to ask for these variances. Because 16 square feet is fairly small.
Yeah. And that's both sides too, 8 and 8, so. not very-
No, that's
16
per side.
Okay.
16 square feet per side. So the real issue here was the setback, and I think you heard in public comment that they were willing to readdress that part. During the hearing, there was no hardship given. When asked what the hardship was for that particular variance, their only response was it would cost more to move the sign back. So, and we know cost and financial issues is not a zoning hardship.
Yeah.
So there was nothing physical on the property that would keep them from moving the sign back.
Okay. Del, what's the outlook on the widening of Career Center? Maybe
Well,
Mr. Wheeler knows, I don't know.
I can address that.
Yeah.
Career Center Road is on the MPO's list of projects to be improved to a minimum of three lanes. Could go more. These projects are a few years out. They will be starting at the Route 102 area and working their way up. So exactly when they would get to this particular segment, I can't say. Okay. But it could be 8 years from now, could be 12 years from now. I really don't know. It all depends on funding, and there's some other mechanisms that, as far as staging these projects go. But at some point, that road will be a minimum of 3 lanes. Mm-hmm. So if they are going to redo their sign, now might be the best time to locate it now to save the taxpayers from having to pay to do it later.
Okay. And I forgot the numbers though, off the top of my head here. What is the difference off of the setback that they are?
Well, It's about 8 feet off of the right-of-way line. It needs to be a minimum of 15 feet from the right-of-way line.
So it's halfway.
So about 7 feet. Yeah, it's about halfway too
Yeah.
close.
Okay. Questions on this? Mr. Wheeler?
Got a couple. What's the, do you know the reasoning behind the no lit signs in the rural area? Why that was,
The only thing I can figure with that is that oftentimes churches are located in residential districts.
Usually R1.
Yes, the R1 residential districts in neighborhoods, and you don't necessarily want a bright flashing sign in a residential neighborhood keeping people awake and shining all night. That's the only thing. We are getting to a digital world. We really should address our sign ordinance. Something is on my list. I haven't got to it yet.
right.
We should look at size. We should look at areas. Currently, the only locations that you're allowed digital signs by right is the commercial and industrial districts, because they do allow lighted and flashing signs there. So ag and residential districts do not allow them.
Yeah.
But we have issued variances before for these type of things, usually a religious institution.
So it's not about traffic safety, it's about neighbor convenience and being a good neighbor.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. Because when our ordinance was written, there was no such thing as a digital sign.
Yeah.
So
I remember those
flashing
days.
and lighted, they're talking about just a box light sign or externally lighted sign.
I
Yeah,
think
we
we-
should address, but that part about it confused me. I didn't
Yeah.
quite get that. The other thing is we don't have geometry on any proposed widening of that section.
No,
So
we do not.
How would the applicant know where to put the new sign? Because we can't guarantee that the geometry won't be in that right of way.
That's true. I mean, we cannot make any guarantees of how far they must put it back. But by our ordinance right now, it should be at least 15 feet back.
And it would likely have to move again.
If they would like to discuss it with us, we can probably, assuming it's going to be a 3-lane road, we could probably get some measurements of what that would look like so that they could presumably set it back far enough. Would we accomplish that? Maybe not. Might it still need to be moved back later? Can't guarantee it would, because if that road was to go to 4 or 5 lanes, it would have to be a lot farther back.
Well, yeah, and there's potentially the walking paths, multi-use path would be on the other side of the road, and it would extend all the way down to 102.
Mhm.
Those are the future plans for the area. Again, 12 years out, maybe. Is there a way to tie? They have to move the sign if we widen the road. Don't make them do it now. Just make the sign move when we need it to move. You see where I'm going
Agree to
with this?
do it when we need to.
Because I don't want to tell them they have to move it, and then we have to move it again.
Unfortunately, no. This is a variance, so we cannot put conditions upon.
Yeah, it's not a special
that.
use, so.
I
that's
think
stuck.
the best thing here would be, I think, that if we determine what the width of a 3-lane road would be, and they set it back 15 feet off of that, and hope for the best. That's about the best. Which, in its current location, we're pretty sure that sign would have to be moved, as it is.
Pretty
Oh,
much
yeah.
no matter what, for
Yeah.
3
So no
lanes,
matter
it's gotta
what.
go
I
So
would
if
agree.
they can at
Just
least
to where is the question?
too tight.
if they can set it back on a standard 3-lane road width plus 15 feet, even if we widen the road and it does come up a little closer to the road than the 15 feet, the sign was existing and permitted, so it's allowed to stay. And it wouldn't need a variance at that point because it was an existing sign. So the only time we would have to do something with the new sign is if the right-of-way became so wide that the sign would be in the right-of-way.
Gotcha.
Okay, so there is some uncertainty here, but I think we could make an educated guess.
Sure. And last question. Did anyone look and see if this is in Bourbonnais' strategic plan on what they intend to build out there, or Mantino, as the case may be, if they continue to expand?
I think it's
No,
residential.
I have not. I think it's in the Mantino
Residential.
area. Well, actually, it could be a split of both.
Because they meet in that general
When they
area.
meet, you split you have your 1.5 miles, and if they cross, you split the difference, and each town gets their side of that line. So I would have to determine what that is. I don't think Mantino has any plans that far out on theirs. Bourbonnais probably does. And if I had to guess in that area, it's probably residential.
That's what I would think too.
Seems like I remember red residential there for the comp plan for Mantino. It's been a while since I've seen it. But. Okay, anyone have any questions about this situation here? Ms. Weber?
Thank you. I just, on the page that I printed, it says 10 feet setback. You are saying 15. Did it change since this was written?
That
page.
might just be, oh, I see that, yeah.
And
I think that's a misprint.
oh, you think it's 15?
Should have said 15.
It should have said 15.
Yes.
Oh.
Though we're not contract zoning by putting a limitation on a approval for this variance, are we?
Yes, you would be. You cannot put any limitations on it. Either you
So you
approve-
can't tell them you got to change the setback here.
well, yes, you can.
You can. Okay.
you
Well,
can.
that's
You-
adjustment contract. Then. No.
You cannot put a condition on the request for a variance. You can force them to meet the setback by not approving that variance.
Okay.
Okay.
So then they have to come back again.
Now, we cannot, I mean, if you don't approve the variance for the setback, they could move the sign 15 feet back from the current right-of-way, and that would be permissible. It does not sound like that's what they want to do. They do want to move it farther back because they don't want to move their sign again either.
Yeah.
But that's the outcome you would have as of right now. We
Mhm.
cannot force them to put it even farther back than that.
It's a considerable sum of money to put in the wrong place for the future.
So
I'm
the
sure.
smart move would be for them to figure out how far back they need to put it and then put it there. But if they were to come in with an application for 15 feet from that right-of-way line, we would have to issue the permit on
Okay.
that.
Is that something we can find out through Mike, or is that something that we should know?
Find out what.
What the setback is should be along there.
Well, it's
What did we make them do on a solar farm across the street?
we know that this is 15-foot setback. We know what that is. That's
Okay.
what our ordinance currently says.
Okay. And the solar farms and everything.
That's
out
that's an entirely different set of setbacks for solar farms.
Okay.
This is a sign we're talking about here.
This is where this is going. Can I
Sure.
clarify,
Mr. Ritter.
please? Sorry, this is going on a little all over the place.
Yeah.
We're saying that we're not going to approve the variance because they're going to move the sign back, but approve everything else so we can move forward. I just want to
Decide.
make
That
sure
would be my recommendation, that you approve the variance for the digital sign and for the size of the sign, and you deny the variance for the setback.
Right.
Okay.
I'd like to entertain that motion.
what he said.
What he said?
Yeah.
Mr. Wheeler, you gonna make one today? Okay. Mr. Wheeler,
It
let's get a
seems like-
second.
Seems like that's where they're
Mr.
going anyway.
Fairfield got a second? Ms. Weber want to do a second too? Oh, you have a question? Sorry.
Yes, what is the,
Okay.
why would we want to approve a sign that's bigger than the ordinance and flashes when churches can't do that?
Well, it's not really flashing. That's part of our ordinance, says no flashing. These signs do not flash. They
Yeah.
do scroll though.
Yes?
They're capable of flashing. They're capable of playing movies, but they don't.
So the answer is,
The answer to those questions are, why would you want larger? Well, I think even our zoning board agrees that 16 square feet is too small,
Okay.
and we should change our ordinance, but since we haven't changed our ordinance, the variance would be appropriate.
okay,
Yes.
As far as the flashing goes, that's really up to the board to decide. The lighted, let's not call it flashing, let's call it lighted sign. I think, in my opinion, that's the way the world is moving. And, you know, when you have vehicles moving 55 miles an hour on that road, even at 35 miles an hour, can they see the message? You know, 16 square feet, probably not. Can you see those messages at night if it's not lit? No.
no,
You know, and the churches do have programs and events in the dark, you know, dark hours.
Mhm.
So I don't see too much issue with it. I mean, there are arguments that lighted signs can affect people driving,
mhm.
but we also see those in a lot of locations. So I think the future is moving that direction. So, but that's entirely up to this board to decide whether that's an appropriate or not. My recommendation would be to approve it, but you can.
And approve
Just
it
change the setback.
as an accommodation against what is in place.
Yes. Currently, they have a manual sign that they can change the art on. That's cumbersome for them to announce new events and programs going on at the church. So
again, last of all, if this is approved, they can do the top two things. And what happens to the third thing about the setback?
they would not be allowed, they would have to move the sign back.
To what we find out this setback.
Oh, what
needs
was
to
it?
be.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that right? Yes, Mr. Wheeler.
We can approximate where we think the geometry is going to be.
Yeah.
There's no guarantees there, but it sounds like the applicant is more than willing to go down this road of moving it back because they don't want to move it twice.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak for them, but they did in public comment. So it seems to me that we've got all bases covered. Seems to me that Dell, except for a second, I don't think.
Yeah.
We got a first and a second.
We did?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
just want to make sure that, but we do think that we need to come back and address the lit sign in the rural areas and the size of those
Mhm.
through amendments that we're talking about, because these are older codes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they were chiseling them in tablets when they used to.
I do not believe that yes, I do not believe that that part of the ordinance has been changed since 1967.
The only thing that bothers me about this is somebody's gonna lose a job, because they don't have to walk out there when it's 0 out there and change the sign, you know?
Oh, yeah, when the temperature goes up by a degree, they gotta run out with another number.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
84, 85, 86?
that part of the ordinance is older than I am,
Yeah,
so
okay.
it needs to be readdressed.
Okay, there's a couple of things we need to address here. We'll get to them. So if anyone has any more questions, we got a first and a second. Could we get all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Opposed, same sign. No opposed. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have ZBA case 2311, request for rezoning from R1 residential district to C2 commercial district on a parcel generally situated in Limestone Township. The petitioner is Tony Glazik, property owner and applicant. Del, what do we have for this guy?
All
This
right. Well, many of you are probably familiar with this piece of property as you drive by it quite a bit. It's the old Pananzo's vegetable stand on Route 17, just west of the city of Kankakee. It is zoned R1 single family residential and has been since 1967. The vegetable stand was a legal non-conforming use as it pre-existed, excuse me, our zoning. Mr. Glazik bought the property and had turned it into a feed store and retail outlet for sheds and some other things. And that kind of flew under our radar. So really several years ago when he did that, it should have been rezoned to C2 commercial. But he came into our office wanting to expand the building to make his business larger. And that's when we told him that, yes, you do not have proper zoning for that and need to come into compliance. So that's what we're here today for. He is asking for C2 general commercial on this 2.5 acre lot on Route 17, which is right across the street from industrial zoned property. The zoning board heard this Monday night actually, and they recommend approval 4-0. So two things at play here. One, it's bringing the property up to code in compliance with the current use and allowing him to continue to use it and expand it for that purpose.
Anyone have any questions? Ms. Weber?
I can move that we approve it.
Okay, we get a second? Okay, we got Rose on a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Mr. Wilson with the transportation update. You're on go. Oh, you want to come up here? That's good. Yeah, they glow in the dark when you turn the lights out.
Glow in the dark. I don't know.
They got lights in it?
No, but that's the kids like those still.
Flashing lights.
I have a couple actually, and with a little bit of indulgence from the committee, if I could. So I just wanted to give a brief update on the grants we're working on, just so that way the committee would know. We got a hand up.
I shouldn't be. You just got Dell. I'm good.
Are you getting feedback from me? I can just yell. That probably wouldn't be good.
We're here for the feedback.
Yeah, exactly. I should get the feedback, I guess. So, so I just wanted to give an update on this went before full board for the pass-through funding agreements, and I just wanted to give a little bit of an update to the group on the project we're working on. So we have 11 line item appropriations that we received through Senator Joyce's office that the chairman graciously stepped up to be a great community partner and offer this opportunity for jurisdictions that don't have GATA certified people, or frankly people at all, to manage their grants. We have submitted nearly all of those applications. They're being reviewed by the state of Illinois. They're between $50,000 and $150,000. So we're trying to get the money out into the communities. I just wanted to give an update to this committee. We've been working pretty hard on getting all the paperwork signed. Andy signed probably 500 signatures in the last few days here to kind of finalize the paperwork. But things are moving forward on that. So if your communities are talking to you about it, we're moving forward on that. One other grant opportunity that did just come up, the Safe Routes to Schools program dropped on August 1st. Applications are going to be submitted through early October. So if you have any schools in your area that don't have appropriate sidewalks or signage, one example we would use is Route 17 here in front of the school in Kankakee, the new median with the flashing signs with Safe Routes to Schools program. What's very cool about this year's program is it's 80% state money through bill, so the federal dollars that they funnel through, and then they're putting a highway safety improvement program for the last 20%. Oh. So they will be 100% funded. So it's programs that happen within 2 miles of a school. You need to partner with your local school districts to do a little survey, kind of like a head survey of kids that might use it. It's about walking and rolling to school, biking, safety, all of the things that we talk about. We want to keep our children safe. Obviously, we're rolling back into the school year, so it's kind of a poignant time to talk about this. So if you've got them in your community, you want to talk to my staff, Del or I, or anybody in the planning department, certainly let us know. We'll kind of walk through the process on how those typically work, but it's one of those locally driven activities that towns are usually the leads on them, but certainly in the rural areas, we'd figure out a way to make that happen. And that 100% funding could be something that's really cool, especially for areas that don't have sidewalks where people are walking on the road. One of our 11 appropriation grants or line items is actually a sidewalk in one of the communities where they don't have sidewalks to connect into their community. So it's things like that to make it a little safer. And then the final indulgence would be today kicks off Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over through National Highway Safety. So it's a kind of a 2-week-long or 3-week-long program. So enforcement's being upped. I'm going to ask the chairman if we can. They've got a video that they share. If we could, kind of propagate that through our social media, just to remind everybody that being safe on the road is very important. These are potentially fatal crashes that are easily avoidable. These are some of the easiest crashes to avoid. It's driving sober and being safe on the road. So that actually kicks off today and will run through early September.
Okay, and if a guy needs a stop sign put in his district for schools for a crossing at like 9 there, Ray and I have a bad corner in the morning.
Do a traffic safety study.
I don't know how to
we
do
do
those.
not place stop signs. Stop signs are not speed control devices.
It's crosswalk.
Yeah, so we have to do appropriate safety studies on additional stop signs, and changes in speed. But those do sometimes spur up based on current traffic conditions. And we're out there on the road quite a bit in our yellow vests doing traffic counts. We understand that people are going faster than they should be on the road. So if you've got areas that you want to talk about, certainly reach out to us. We run an ad hoc safety committee through the CATS MPO. We meet about 4 times a year. We talk about safety concerns. So we've got one up in John's area at 12,000 North and Route 50. We've been working very closely with Fire Chief O'Brien to talk about how to make that intersection safer. If you've got areas in your community that you feel like we should be looking at, certainly let us know. We're happy to talk through that. One of the things that came out recently was slow moving vehicles or golf carts, or now these side-by-sides that are driving. So we're looking at the legality of that. If a community adopts a golf cart ordinance, that's fine. Golf carts go 15 or 20 miles an hour. Now people are driving vehicles that go 60 or 70
that are very loud
side-by-sides. So we're looking into all of that, and any of those things that come up, certainly let our staff know. That's what we're here for. We're here to work towards Goal Zero in the state of Illinois. We're here to make sure our roads are safe and that people are are as safe as they can be using the roads, or maybe pedestrians using those similar assets. So yeah, national mobilization for drive sober, get pulled over. Grants are running really well right now. We're very happy with that. And if you need information on the grant opportunity, certainly let me know.
Okay. Your office is you up here where you would want someone to talk to you, or you want over there, or you want just
We're on floor 2, so in the planning department.
Okay. Up in Dell's office up there. Okay, Mr. Wheeler.
These safe routes grants that are out there, are they capped?
They are capped. I don't know exactly what the total amount is, and there's actually, they've created larger buckets. So some of them are for like bicycle rodeo. You can do a non-infrastructure grant. Some of them involve some planning activities. Some of them are for lighting. Some of them are for physical infrastructure improvements. So they kind of run the gamut under the new bill. So yeah, but I'm happy. I'll send out what I have. I don't even want me to send it to the full board.
Yeah, please. This is for Career Center.
Yeah.
Because that is not a safe route to school. And it is definitely not. And we need turn lanes, and we need multi-use paths. And we're gathering all resources to address that, at least until 6,000. And we heard phase 2 would be all the way up to 9,000 is what we're talking about. But I don't know if that's a place we can access some money for some of those things. Road work stuff to widen that, to put a turn lane in.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much road work they would want to do, but certainly pedestrian access, crossings, and pedestrian paths, sidewalks. I feel like we do 10-foot sidewalks now just because it's easier for multi-use. But the Village of Bourbonnais in partnership with the county and or township, because it's not, that's an interesting corridor because it's not all Bourbonnais, it's not all township, everybody's got a little piece of it. But yeah, a joint application might be something where we can do, single entity with partners on Career Center to make sure, because I think there's 3 schools right there on Career Center Road, and we have this all throughout our district. So let us know what ones make sense. We'll try and coordinate to see who would be the lead applicant. And again, in Bourbonnais, they might have another project they want to work on with another school. They can potentially submit 2 applications then. So, and with the non-match requirement, this year's probably the easiest of years. Sometimes we push these things out, and in towns it's like 50-50, and they say, I don't have the million on our end in the budget. Well, now, potentially we could get that all paid for.
Oh, because turn lanes aren't cheap. So, okay. Anyone else have anything for Ben while he's up here? No? Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilson. Okay, anything under old business today?
I have an
Bill?
announcement.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I get a lot of questions about the bathymetric project. I can announce that as of last Thursday, the boats are in the water, so that project is finally moving forward. Okay.
Not my boat. Anyone else have any old business? Okay, we have any new business today? No new business? Mr. Eckhoff's gonna make one here. Motion to adjourn, we get a second. Ms. Weber, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Have a good